Hello, my wonderful gamers. My name is Aiden, and today I'm being joined by my friend Plasmo once again for an anime discussion. It's been a while since one of these happened, since, seasons only come by every 3 months. Every 3 months we get to see a new sect of people absolutely seethe at our opinions. Oh my god, you put Free Rent at A tier? How fucking dare you? Shut the fuck up! Free Rent's overrated as fuck! But today, we're not talking about seasonals. We're still gonna have some hot takes, almost certainly, but instead of talking about how, mid your favorite anime is, we're instead going to be talking about our personal favorite animes. And, of course, when we go through this, not all of our anime takes are gonna make sense. Not everything is gonna be, like, an objective masterpiece or anything, and that's because we're people too. We don't give a sometimes we don't give a fuck about like the actual quality of something as long as it makes us happy, you know?
Precisely. I mean, for me, my ranking is not necessarily what are the 10 objective best anime. That for me, it's what are my favorite 10 anime, which is completely different to me than what I consider my top 10 anime of all time.
Because like if I was making an objective anime tier list, Steins Gate and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood would both be in my top 10, but they're not in my top 10 favorites. I don't even think they make, neither of them make my top 20 either, because the subject of favorite and best is ultimately a different story, and the way that I rate media tends to be on a scale of how much I personally like it, regardless of how good it may objectively be. It's just getting this out of the way to say that my approach to assessing something is probably different to other people's, which is fine.
There's no right way of doing it,
Yeah.
but this is kind of just our own ways, and well, you're stuck with it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the only time I really get mad at someone's take is when they call something I like actively bad. If someone says, "Oh, something that I like is overrated," or I don't really get it, then like, fair enough. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy to get mad at someone's fucking anime take. I'd much rather go outside.
For sure.
Which, that's been a fun thing to do, by the way. I've been hiking, like, pretty often lately. It's been a fun hobby.
Yeah. By the way, one more thing to preface. You may realize cheat skill will not be mentioned here, because if you are watching, then you should already know why it's peak. So I don't think we need to discuss
I haven't even seen Cheat Skill, and I already know that it's objectively the greatest anime ever made.
Precisely.
Which is the reason why we don't even need to bring it up, because why explain to people why something so obviously fucking perfect is...
We just get to the fucking ranking.
Anyway, we're gonna be starting with you, Plasma, so we'll start with your number 10.
We'll start with me. Alright. Attack on Titan is my number 10. Now, I will say, this was not always the case. Not even close. I first watched Attack on Titan. I thought it was good. I mean, it was what everyone had told me was like the best anime of all time. You have to watch this no matter what. And I finally, after quite a few months of people pestering me, I finally got around to watching it. And it was good. Not incredible, it was good. That was my thoughts going into season 4 at least. It was good. When I first watched it, I hated season 4. Season 4 to me was like, everything has switched up so much. What's going on? Like, they've completely lost track of what they were doing at the beginning. Everything's so different. What the fuck is going on? And then I had heard so many people say that season 4 was incredible. So I thought, I'll give it another watch. Season 4 is peak. Season 4 is absolutely amazing, and honestly, it put it from something that was very good into being a top 10 show. Purely because of Season 4. Season 4 does very much carry. The ending was incredible in my opinion. I thought it was amazing. I know a lot of people didn't like the ending. I disagree. If anyone was assuming that everyone was going to live happily ever after and nothing bad was going to happen, well, then you didn't watch the show, because nothing good ever happened. No, there was nothing that was really a complete success. Obviously, it wasn't gonna end like that. And I think with that ending, it was great.
Yeah, I really loved Attack on Titan by the end as well. My thoughts are complicated. I kind of don't like the first 2 seasons. I think they're boring.
I found season 2 boring. I like season 1.
Yeah, I like the first half of season 1. The second half of season 1 I think is boring.
Second half, I don't fully remember like exactly where everything
Spend like
goes.
13
I
episodes
do remember
on the female Titan.
I thought that was season 2.
No, that's season 1. Season 2 is the one where they introduce like the Beast Titan.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Season 2 ended really fucking strong though, and that was what kept me watching Attack on Titan.
And
Season 2 had a fucking amazing ending.
Season 3 part 2 used to be my favorite part before season 4.
Yeah, season 3 part 2 was really good. It just worked
it was
so well.
so
It's such a
good.
hype conclusion to the first half of the series.
And it's weird to say the first half of a series, considering it's the end of season 3 of a 4-season show with like a movie.
And then
But
season
it's true,
4 is where everything gets flipped on its head. It's so good. It's so fucking good.
It is so good. It's really fucking good. And one thing I will note, the individual seasons for Attack on Titan, only season 3 part 2 and season 4 and all of season 4, those are 10s. Normally, when I have something I credit as praise as much as Attack on Titan, every season is a 10. But in my opinion, what's different with Attack on Titan is, instead of individual seasons being amazing, it's more the entire story when you put it together is fucking incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no, like, obviously I've said I loved season 4, but there wasn't a specific part that was like, oh, this is why I love this show. This is a perfect showcase. It was more, when you put this story together, it's amazing. That's why you have from 6 out of 10 to 10 out of 10 in Attack on Titan, but it still manages to end up in my favorites. Because, yeah, you have them weak parts, but when you put everything together, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's the thing too, because like I completely stumbled over my words. What the fuck? And whenever I think about Attack on Titan again, if I ever were to rewatch it, which I don't think I will because it's really long, but if I do, then I'm probably gonna like it a hell of a lot more because of just how well foreshadowed everything is.
Oh, for sure.
Like, what makes Attack on Titan good is how everything builds up to its conclusion so well.
Yeah, I mean, you can clearly tell that nothing was a rash decision. The entire story, the end was decided from when the show started.
Mm-hmm.
You can really tell the way they foreshadow so much in that show. I think rewatching it made me love Attack on Titan so much more than I did on my first watch through. But at the same time, I don't think that necessarily puts it. I can't give it too much credit for that because I don't think you should have to rewatch a show in order to love it.
I agree.
Because if you have to watch a show twice, that means the first time you watched it, the show didn't do what it needed to do, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But even on the first watch, I'd say I'd still, if I had a pair of balls and I knew that season 4 was good, I would put it in my favorites. It wasn't just a rewatch that made me completely love it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Because I was genuinely surprised. I was at points in the beginning where I was considering dropping it, and then like I waited it out. I was patient, and then season 4 was really good, but I don't think it was until season 4 part 2 that I went, holy fucking shit, for sure. This is peak. And then the ending is really well handled too. The manga readers are gonna fucking hate this video.
Yeah, but I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
It
I
just
make
cut my
jokes
nut.
about the about how annoying the comments can be sometimes, but ultimately it doesn't matter because this channel is just us yapping to a microphone.
Yep.
But I think that's all I have to say about AOT. I don't want to get into like specifics because I want to stay spoiler free, but
For sure, for sure. I don't think I even need to really go into specific
everyone's
events.
seen Attack on Titan and knows what their own opinion of Attack on
Yeah.
Titan is at this point. So
I think most people once they've watched it, they don't really change their mind. It's a for me, Attack on Titan is one of the most love it or hate it shows. Like I haven't really seen anyone say, "Oh, Attack on Titan was fine." Most people either really did not like it or really loved it.
yeah.
And well, I'm on the really loved it train, so
I used to be on the did not like it train too, but then I eventually became on the love it
yeah,
train. So
same.
like, I'm just so impressed by how well this anime did it, how good of a job this anime did at winning me over time.
Mhm.
It was able
Yeah.
to establish itself as something so much more than the initial premise that it presented itself as. It's just kind of like another shonen.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, this is like a fucking like race war now? This shit's fucking interesting.
Yeah, I think what they did was great because it really did it's set apart from every other shonen really, and I don't think you can't compare something to Attack on Titan. It's its own thing, and that's what I love about it. You can't really get what Attack on Titan gives in with many other anime. I haven't really seen anything that's given me what Attack on Titan gave me.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
haven't
why I
either.
love it, especially.
It's so good. But I think we're about ready to move on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my number 9, what the
Number
fuck?
10.
What is this?
Foreshadowing.
Hunter x Hunter. my
Foreshadowing.
my number 10, I swear to god I can't speak right today. My number 10 is Kaguya-sama Love is War. I absolutely love Kaguya-sama. It's one of my favorite romance series. It's not my personal favorite romance series, we'll get to my favorite later, but this is my second favorite by far. I think it's a very generic choice for favorite, don't get me wrong, but it's a generic choice for a reason. It's a really
Yeah.
well done series. Akasaka is an amazing mangaka, as always. Oshinoko isn't in my top 10, but it's in my top 20. Just goes to show how good of a storyteller he is to be able to have two 10 out of 10 works in my eyes.
And the fact that they're completely different as well.
Yeah, they are very different. Because Kaguya-sama is very much a comedy with some like serious romance elements, while Oshinoko is very serious and dark with almost no comedy elements. Like,
Yeah.
because like that's one thing about Kaguya-sama. The show is fucking hilarious. Some of the funniest jokes ever in any anime.
Well, yeah, the jokes are amazing. I could probably. I mean, there's not many anime where you really remember specific jokes, but Kaguya-sama is one that I do remember some specific jokes. Being really funny.
Yeah.
The comedy's really well done, and it's not in my top 10 personally. It used to be, but I still love it.
Yeah, I think it's this one's kind of barely in my top 10, and the reason why it's barely in my top 10 is because I don't think it truly comes into its own until a little bit later. However, I still really respect the first two seasons. Since they have the confidence to take it slow, let it self-cook and win over the audience over time, just by the fact that the concept itself is just inherently interesting. Two tsunderes refusing to confess to each other out of pride and pride alone is absolutely hilarious. And then it also has like these really fun mind games too. It's like a rom-com Death Note, which is great. Because Death Note is another really fun series of like the psychological mind game stuff. I don't think there really aren't any other romance series that get into like that psychological element the way that Kaguya-sama is able to. It's able to be really funny while doing that as well. And then, of course, the show is also able to explore really interesting themes about the fear of opening up to others. And that's where, and you get glimpses of that in every season. Season 1 of the Fireworks Festival, when they both finally start being a little bit more open with each other, and then both of them are extremely embarrassed about it to the point where they just refuse to bring it up ever again. And then Season 2 does a lot of really good stuff too by establishing its side characters more, because Season 1, for the most part, is Kaguya and Shirogane, and then Chika as well. Season 2 decides to develop, oh my god, Yu is his name, right? Yeah, Yui Shigami.
Yes. Yes.
I was like, holy fucking shit, how am I almost about to forget the name of one of the greatest characters of all time?
He's for me, he's my favorite character in the show.
Yeah, my personal favorite, I think, is Kaguya.
Fair enough.
I think if I had to do a top 5 ranking of my favorites, I would say 5 Chika, 4 Ino, 3 Yu, 2 Shirogane, and 1 Kaguya.
Fair enough.
Which, and it's easy to say fair enough too, because all the characters are so good.
Yeah,
so
I feel like pretty much any order. I could see why you put in any order. All the characters are really strong. I think Kaguya really shows how to have a story with so many characters and have each of them bring their own thing to the show. My Hero Academia. Anyway.
I used to love My Hero so fucking much, but man, it sucks how it fell off. But yeah, with, I think the only character you could say is your favorite, and I'd be like, bro, what the fuck, would be, Chika, because she is
one of my
character.
friends said he said Chika was his favorite character, and I did question him why, but... Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do kind of get it, though. She's cute, really well designed, very funny. It's just she doesn't really add much to, like, the emotional backbone of the series, which is what I really love Kaguya-sama for. So that propels it to a masterpiece for me.
She's got the best personality out of the student council, that's all I'll say.
If you mean that personality, I understand.
Anyways.
Oh, and then another thing, yeah, because Season 2 does a really good job at developing its side characters more. Yu gets that whole arc. Holy fucking shit.
Oh my god!
I almost cried watching that shit. It was fucking perfectly well written.
I did. I'll say it right here. I did. It was so good. Oh my days.
It's so good. And he's a fucking side character, and yet they gave him such an emotional backstory that helps propel what his arc will later become in Season 3 and hopefully Season 4 if we ever get one. And then they also introduce Ino in Season 2, and Ino is a fucking great character. She's a stickler for the rules, but people don't take her seriously because she's short and cute. Which, that's fucking adorable. I love that kind of archetype.
Doesn't she like bold people or something?
Yeah, I think, yeah, she has some weird tastes. She kind of reminds me of Maika Sakuronomiya from Blend S. In a lot of ways. But I love the show so much. And then, of course, when it really comes up at is Season 3. I actually think, like, the first half of Season 3 is a little weaker than Season 1 and 2. But then the second half makes up for it. Holy fucking shit.
Oh,
that confession scene is perfect.
The confession scene was perfect, and I think the movie was... it was amazing because it had that massive event being the confession, and you kind of tend to think, oh, what's going to happen now, considering the entire thing was about confession, and now... that's happened, what's gonna happen, but they still managed to keep up, and it was a great what's it called, it held its own even though it followed such a big event. And I really did love the movie as well. It was really good.
Yeah, the movie is actually what convinced me that Kaguya-sama was a masterpiece, because I was on 9 out of 10 copium for the longest time. The
I'm
movie is
on
what
9 out of
convinced
10
me
right
that
now.
the movie was what convinced me that Kaguya-sama is one of the greatest series of our generation.
But
Because-
I have to say, one of the best parts, I think it was in the movie, was who's the girl that Kogi is always talking to for relationship advice?
Nagisa,
I
I
don't
think
re-
her name is.
Yeah, I don't remember her name, but she asked, how long after you tongue kissed did you have sex? And she's like, about 15 seconds.
One of the best jokes in that fucking film.
Honestly, it's
I got to
so
see it.
good.
I got to see it in theaters, and it was so much fun getting to laugh at the same jokes as everyone else was laughing at.
I didn't manage to see it in theaters because when did it come out?
Yeah, it only had a 2-day release. But
I wasn't a weeb at that point, so.
my
Was it?
my theater they screened the movie for a little bit longer than they did elsewhere, which I was surprised about. But I'm really thankful for that because it meant that I got to see the film. Then afterward, because I saw the movie with my mom. My mom got a Kaguya sama hoodie, and then I also have that hoodie now, which I think is cool.
Sick.
I haven't worn that hoodie in a long time, but I probably should wear it soon. I think it'd be fun. Because man, I love the series so fucking much. It's so good. It's so fucking good. Oh yeah, I haven't even talked about why the movie's so good. Yeah, so like the reason why the movie manages to be such a masterpiece is because it acknowledges this is Shirogane, this is Kaguya. Even after confessing, both of them are still gonna be complete fucking pussies when it comes to making the next move.
Yeah. They built themselves up for what? Like, they built themselves up for 3 seasons, saying, yeah, we're gonna be in love. And then when it happens, they're like, yeah, now you have to do something. But they both say that to each other, so no one does anything.
So that's when
I
they
love how
actually
they
have to
didn't
confront.
change.
Because in the 3rd season, there was the pressure of the school festival. Shirogane was like, well, if I have to do it, I had to do it now, right? So he was embracing the spectacle more than anything else. But now, after the spectacle cleans itself up, neither of the characters have dealt with their personal issues that they need to resolve in order to actually acknowledge that they love each other. So the movie dedicates itself to having the characters overcome those mental hurdles that they have been building up for 3 seasons, which means the movie feels a lot more intimate and personal with its characters than season 3 did. Not to diss season 3, because the spectacle of that scene is one of the most hype moments of any anime I've ever seen, but
sure.
the movie is what really, really made me realize that this is something special. I need to read the manga at this point. I'm ashamed of myself that I haven't yet, because season 4 doesn't seem that likely at this point with how long it's been.
Yeah.
And
I think I should read it as well. Considering I read everything, I'm surprised I haven't read it.
I mean, it starts as a little bit of a tough read because it's so episodic at first.
Yeah. I think I did almost read it, but then I was like, nah.
But I mean, I feel like the art style isn't nearly as refined either. Akasaka is a fucking top tier writer, but he's only a decent artist.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why I got Mengo Yokoyari to draw Oshinoko. But yeah, that's about all I have to say before we are here for 10 billion hours. So we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so I want to eat your pancreas. Yes, I know that name is mad. Don't pay attention to it. It doesn't matter. This is a movie. This isn't a season or anything. It's just a movie. Honestly, peak. I think this was actually the first movie I watched. And it's hard to describe. Because the reason I love this so much, obviously, if I want to really say how much I love this, I'm gonna talk about what happens, obviously.
I don't want to be spoiled
Obviously,
because I do plan on
don't
eventually
want
watching
to
it.
spoil it because I genuinely think everyone should watch it because this movie is incredible. Just know that you're gonna be sobbing, and nah, you know what? It's hard to say. So the story, I'm gonna basically tell you the synopsis of the story. So basically, what happens is our main character is just some guy, and he just assumes no one cares about me. Like no one, I don't care about people. They don't care about me. I'm just gonna do what I need to do. But then you've got this girl, and one day, our main character is in a. He's somewhere. I think he's in. The place doesn't matter, but he picks up a notepad, and the notepad reveals that this girl has a disease, a disease that will kill her. And now that he knows the secret, he can't escape. That's all I'm gonna say. Read it. Watch it. You won't regret it.
Yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say.
Synopsis alone makes it sound like a masterpiece. I really gotta check this out.
It's hard. It's very hard to, because it's just a movie. It's very hard to say what makes this thing so good, because the things that you typically think about when you, like, for example, Kaguya-sama, the characters and stuff, but because you only have a movie, it's harder to really give those same reasons that you love. You love the movie. All I'll say is, I don't know how they do it, but they make it so in an hour you care about these characters so much in just an hour. And yeah, watch it. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna elaborate anymore. Just watch it.
Oh, yeah, I totally want to watch it after this. It sounds really good.
It's really really good.
So yeah, I'll oh wow, we're already moving on to me. Bocchi the Rock, another fairly generic choice. And I know this is also on your list, Plasma. We'll have you elaborate on your reasons when we get to your placement of Bocchi the Rock. So we'll just elaborate on why. We'll just elaborate on why I love Bocchi the Rock for now. Of course, the elephant of the room is the fact that I am a very socially anxious person. I'm able to relate to Bocchi a lot. And her struggles of facing social anxiety. Obviously, my social skills are better than Bocchi. That's because Bocchi is an intentionally exaggerated portrayal of what social anxiety is. A lot of people say, "Oh, Bocchi the Rock isn't realistic," and I'm like, "Did you watch the fucking show?" Because like, what Bocchi the Rock is trying to do is not to be a completely one-to-one translation of what social anxiety is like. What it's supposed to do is to translate what social anxiety feels like.
There we go! Sorry, I'm gonna shut up.
Because like, whenever you get into a tough social situation, you're not going to be lying on the ground, glitching out in a fucking panic attack. No one is doing that. Not even a character adjacent to Bocchi in real life would ever do something like that. But the scenes and the jokes work because it's an anime. Because these characters are not real. They're able to be exaggerated in ways that real people can't. Which is the reason why a live-action Bocchi adaptation would be the worst idea ever made. It would be pretty funny, though. It's the reason why... people take it so fucking literally when they watch Bocchi the Rock. They're like, "Oh, I wouldn't fucking glitch out on the floor, fucking scrub, go outside, get a light." I've also had people tell me too that you don't like Watamote, but you like Bocchi the Rock. Does that mean that that you obviously don't have actual social anxiety? And I'm like, the reason why I don't like Watamote is because Tomoko's a fucking asshole.
I don't know what that is. I'm just gonna shut up.
Yeah, the Bocchi the Rock manages to be enjoyable because Bocchi is a flawed character, very much so. She has impure motives, and she takes to compliments a little too hard, and yet she still manages to feel likable because of the fact that she genuinely does want to change, and the fact that she's actively trying to improve herself every single episode. and it's seeing Bocchi's like actually going through a character arc instead of staying stagnant for 12 episodes. The fact that Bocchi changes and improves throughout the entire thing that makes Bocchi the Rock genuinely inspirational. I first watched Bocchi when it aired when I was a senior in high school, and now as an adult I can say my social skills are honestly still not that good. They're quite bad even, but they're a hell of a lot better than they were when I was in high school, and I have Bocchi to thank for that, because it was watching Bocchi's story that made me realize that, holy shit, I can become better. I don't have to stay in a world where I'm not able to get my feelings across to other people. Because if someone like Bocchi can do it, then that means that I can too. And fuck, man, that is the most inspirational thing I've ever seen in my life. I've cried watching this show, man. I really love Bocchi the Rock. And the thing is that, like, the show manages to be excellent even in areas that aren't just Bocchi's character arc. Because it's a cute girls doing cute things series, it also means that the rest of the characters in the band had to be great characters too, and they are great characters. Kita is a really good character. She goes through a really good arc. Because what I love so much about Kita is the fact that she isn't just the boring extrovert character, because extroverts are always portrayed as perfect people, and of course, when Bocchi's having her panic attacks every other minute, she definitely perceives Kita that way, but what we actually see with Kita is someone who is scared of being perceived in a negative light, and that's what makes Kita's character arc work so well. The fact that she feels so human, the fact that she has the same fears as Bocchi, but is just able to hide those fears better due to the fact that she is an extrovert, fits in better. That's why
she's a lesbian.
That's why I'm a Bo-Kita shipper. Because Bocchi and Kita just have very natural chemistry with each other, in terms of the people that they are, and they just don't realize that yet. How Bocchi may look up to Kita because of how well she's able to get along with other people, while Kita looks up to Bocchi because how talented Bocchi is at guitar. And then the other characters are amazing too. Ryo is, despite the fact that everyone with a Ryo PFP is objectively a pain in the ass person, the character herself is amazing. She does, because what Ryo manages to do is be like the goofy oddball character, but while Bocchi the Rock is an introvert with anxiety, Ryo is an introvert who is confident as all fucking hell. She is the top G alpha male. Fucking can't take that sentence seriously. Oh man, that's definitely how Kita sees her though.
Honestly,
because Ryo knows that she's good at bass. She knows that she can get along with people. She just doesn't really feel like she needs to put in that effort because she's so confident in herself. And that's what makes such a good contrast to Bocchi. Bocchi is someone who tries so hard to appeal to the masses because she thinks that people won't love who she is deep down. Meanwhile, Ryo reassures her that, Bocchi, you are a cool person, someone who is enjoyable to be around. One of my favorite quotes is in episode 4 where Ryo was talking about how giving up the creativity to appeal to the masses is the same as dying creatively. And like, holy shit, that is so true. As a creative myself, I so badly want to stay as someone who can be authentic, true to themselves, someone who can really be able to give something authentic and real to someone, instead of being the 10,000th fucking Mr. Beast clone who hires 10 billion more pedophiles. Oh yeah, Nijika's cool too. I have less to talk about Nijika, but Nijika is also a really good character.
I mean, she's the reason the entire story happens, really.
Mm-hmm. Because she's the one consistently positive force throughout the story, and I think that's something that we need. She hasn't been explored that much yet, but she will be explored later, I feel. And we've already gotten to see a decent bit into her so far with her relationship with her older sister, and you can truly feel that she is super passionate toward music. And it's great to see. Oh yeah, right, I haven't even talked about Kikuri yet. Kikuri is what made me realize, holy fuck, I really do want to date a drunk girl. The Kikuri is fucking hilarious. Some of the best jokes come from her.
Yeah.
Cause like, she's also anxious as fuck, but she drinks alcohol all the time, so you'll never be able to guess. It's great. It's a great contrast to Bocchi, who literally can't drink alcohol yet. So yeah, that's all I had to say about Bocchi the Rock for now. I'm sure you had so much more that you wanted to talk about as well, Plasma, but we'll get to that later.
Yes, I'm holding back.
Again, Bocchi's a fucking masterpiece, man. Fucking peak series.
Sure.
Anyway, to number 8. This is what I'm gonna have to hold back. Holy shit, because a silent voice is later on my list too, but I'll just let you talk.
Now, once again, this is another movie. Originally, I had I Want to Eat Your Pancreas above, but once again, when I rewatched this thing, I realized, and this is not to discredit I Want to Eat Your Pancreas in any way, but this movie is fucking incredible. Because, I'm not gonna lie, I've not really seen a show where you have your main character being an open bully, like our main character is, and really try to improve himself as he goes on. And he can't even stop thinking about what he did, because yeah, what he did, it was fucked up. It was really fucked up. Like, he tried to be the class clown, and he would just bully a disabled girl. And you know, this, once again, the movie speaks for itself, really. It's hard to say much without spoiling. But every single character in this movie has an important role to play, and without every character in the movie, it wouldn't be the same, really. And I fucking like this movie. How do I explain it? It's really hard to explain, but it makes you think about my outlook on life in general changed when I watched this movie, really. Yeah, it's fucking peak. I want to say more. I think I'll probably have more to say when Aiden brings up his own stuff. I might add one or two things in, but once again, the movie kind of speaks for itself, in my opinion. So I think we can move on, even though, I'm sorry, this is very quick.
Oh, fair enough.
But
I'll be talking about a silent voice for like 45 minutes when I get to it, don't worry.
Fair enough. I'll probably jump in when you do, because nothing comes to my head immediately. It has been like a while since I watched it.
Yeah. And then I know every fucking scene at the top of my fucking head, so...
Exactly. So
Alright, my number 8 is Welcome to the NHK. I like it for very similar reasons that I like Bocchi, because it also deals with a very socially anxious protagonist. But while Bocchi the Rock is a very motivating series, Bocchi ends up getting to a far more happier life. NHK is a very cynical series. I mean, that really is the best way for me to put it. The main character is a college dropout, lives in his house, a complete hikikomori NEET, an absolute loser, can barely talk to anyone, and he's it's been a while since I've seen it, so I'm not going to be able to perfectly display everything that happened in the series. I would say the first half of the series is very fun. It's just a genuinely good comedy. Because he also meets, like, one of his old high school friends, makes him into a complete weeb. He's, like, jerking off to hentai every other episode. So the main character ends up becoming like a big hentai addict. And that's one thing the show does well. It portrays sexual desire really well, in a way that is not flattering at all, but still feels very real and genuine. The original novel and the manga take it a step further, which is surprising to say that the anime is tame by comparison, but it really is. And this show is fucking dark too. But like the big hook of the series is the girl next to the main character, Misaki. She randomly comes to his house, tries to help him like get better social skills and stuff. And Sato's just thinking, "Oh my god, a cute girl just gone to my house." Fantasizes about her like every other episode, and all this shit. But then, in the second half, that's when things really get real. That's when things start to get dark. And I'm not gonna explain exactly what ends up happening because I want you to watch the series. Because it really is just, it's fucking peak fiction. And then, because for the first like 12 episodes, I was like, oh, this is like a 7, 8 out of 10. I like the series a lot. It's really fun. And then the second half is when I went, holy fucking shit, this is a masterpiece. One of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. This anime really manages to speak for me well, because it shows, because like, being a hikikomori sounds like a great life on the surface. It really does. Not needing to worry about responsibilities. Truly, in a way, you can see being a hikikomori as the ultimate form of freedom. However, what the show does such a good job at presenting its argument for why being a hikikomori is a horrible, miserable existence. And it presents that argument so well throughout its 24-episode run that I was just absolutely flabbergasted at how well executed it ended up being. The fact that every character has so much depth to it, depth to them. Even Misaki, who seemed like the manic pixie dream girl, ended up being a really well fleshed out character. Along with the character arc that Sato goes through, realizing that he can't be a hikikomori for his entire life. He has to get a life. It's an amazing series. And the reason why I haven't rewatched it too is because it's a genuinely pretty hard series to watch because it's so real, so brutally honest about how negatively affected Sato's life is by the fact that he doesn't interact with the outside world. But it's precisely because of how genuine the series is that it managed to strike so much of a chord with me and connect with me on such a deep and personal level.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is one of the first anime I'd recommend to anyone. Like, second to Bocchi when it comes to like good portrayals of social anxiety in anime. This is a really good portrayal. That's all I had to say. Unless you have anything to add.
I haven't watched this thing, mate.
Yeah, you haven't seen it, so.
I want to watch it though. Fucking hell, there's too much, man.
Yeah, there's too much to watch. It's
It feels so hard to start shows as well. This is the problem with anime, man.
Because like this is a series that I know you'll really like too. Well, we'll move on to your number 7.
What is my number? Oh, Hunter x Hunter. Well, at first, I mean, this show was. Let me think. It must have been. I think it was like the 3rd anime I ever watched, and I really, really liked it. Sorry. This show, you go into it thinking one thing. No. Whatever you think going into this show, you're probably wrong. This show is not about. It doesn't. It makes it think everything's gonna be alright, and it's gonna be 4 guys, four main characters, all being hunters. No. first of all, one of the main characters isn't even there for most of the show. And two of the main characters aren't there for most of the show. And this thing is dark. If you look into it, this thing is dark. And that's just Togashi's writing. He is like Akasaka. He's an okay artist. Incredible storyteller. Hunter x Hunter, the storytelling, it's very flawed in many ways. You can it's not like Attack on Titan in its writing. You can tell that a lot of things happened on the fly. Like the power system that's used, it's very likely that at the start of the show, that wasn't planned. Because we see weird powers which don't fit into the power system, but they exist kind of thing. But one thing I will say about the power system, it's the best power system in all of anime, in my opinion. All of shonen anime, it's the best one to exist. I'm not going to reveal too much because you actually have to watch a surprisingly long time to even get into it. This show is quite long. Unfortunately, it's not finished, and even more unfortunately, I don't think the manga will ever finish because of Togashi's health. But this show is incredible. The themes it presents are amazing on human life in general and how we see ourselves. Because it really ends up being that the alien life form slowly becomes more human towards the end of the show, and the humans become more alien-like by the end. I'm not gonna say why, I'm not gonna say how, I'm gonna say that it happens, and it's amazing. I think this show is amazing when you first watch it, and it's even better if you think about the show in depth, because the thing is, you don't have to think about the show in depth to love it. Like, you can just watch the show, see everything that happens, and like it. But for me, what I really love is when I look in depth at the themes it tries to present, why everything happens in the show. I fucking love it. Like, this is one of the most interesting anime to just think about, for me. I really, really, really love it. Though I will say that it's not for everyone. I feel like if you get to like episode 50 and you're bored, you probably won't like it, because I have to say it is very long. Its longest arc is like, I think it's like 70 episodes. It's really long, so it can feel a bit drawn out. But if you do make it through, then you're probably gonna love it.
Yeah, because this is where I can actually have an alternate opinion. This is where things are gonna be interesting, because I saw Hunter x Hunter. I don't get it. I just don't get it. It wasn't
fair enough.
at all.
It's not a show that's for everyone. I wouldn't say it's like an objective greatest anime of all time. It's like, if you like it, you love it. If it's not for you, then fair enough. It makes sense. It's a very... It appeals to quite a specific audience, I think. And if you're not in that specific audience, you're just not gonna like it. And that's fine. Like, I'm not gonna beat up the grandma for it.
Yeah, I actually don't even really feel like the audience is that specific, because it is one of the most popular anime out there.
True.
A lot of people have seen it as like a 9.0 score on Mal.
Something like that, yeah. It is. I fucking love this show.
Yeah, because like I saw it first arc. I was like, oh yeah, I like the first arc. It's pretty good. Leorio is my favorite character by far. Leorio doesn't exist at all for the rest of the series.
Yeah, Leorio, he exists for like half an arc. Like, he's like a minor character in another arc.
Yeah, I'm like,
he doesn't do anything.
What happened to him, man? He was my favorite.
Because here's the thing, right? That's Togashi for you. He don't give a shit about what you think. And in my opinion, it's a different way to... A lot of people like to say that about Jujutsu Kaisen. Gege Akutami doesn't care about what happens. Hunter x Hunter is the same, but in a different way, because everything has a clear purpose. Lerio becomes a significant character in the events that take place after the anime. So, fair enough. If you loved him, then I'm sorry, you're not going to see much of him.
Yeah,
but one thing I do like is the dynamic between all our characters, all our main characters, is really cool. And you can see everyone changes so much in this show. Like, everyone is a shell of their former self by the end for certain reasons, and each how do I put this? I think each character is, it's annoying that not all, that half the main cast, quote unquote, aren't relevant for the anime events. But if that's how it is, that's how it is, and I still love the show for it.
And there are other things too, like Nen was always really confusing to me. I never really understood it.
Thing is, I didn't understand Nen, but then I kind of looked at it, and then it became amazing. Like, it's such a well thought out power system to me that I don't think any other power system is close to as well thought out as Nen. The way it all works is incredible, and the fact that it was probably thought on the fly is amazing. I mean, one thing I will say is that Nen is Hunter x Hunter is confusing in a way that you can't predict what's gonna happen, because not even Togashi knows what's gonna happen. He just does things and he makes it work.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you've watched the show, you'd know that everyone has one Nen attribute associated to them. No, that's not a thing. Turns out you can have two affinities. And where was this found out? In an exhibition. Not even in the manga, the anime, in an exhibition.
Wow.
That's just how it is. And yeah, it's confusing, but I love it.
Like I will say though, I did like the characters. I thought the plot progression was interesting. Mainly just off of the fact, like, oh yeah, I really don't know what's gonna happen next, but it's interesting. The main hook of finding Gon's dad again was always interesting. And then we got to the Chimera Ant arc, and that's where it lost me. I'm like, oh my fucking god, it's like 20 episodes of exposition and
Chimera Ant arc is the love it or hate it for. It's like the turning point for Hunter x Hunter. It's where you'll lose a lot of people, but make a lot of people even more interested than they were before. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I watched Chimera Ant, and I was like, there are some aspects of it I like, but man, I don't like it.
I feel like if you don't love it at like the start, then you probably won't end up liking it as much.
Yeah,
like,
I'd say if you want to truly get an idea of if Hunter x Hunter is for you, watch until the like the game Isekai arc. I don't remember what it's called.
Greed Island.
Yeah, Greed Island. Read Greed Island, and then after that, you can make your decision if you want to keep on watching.
Yeah, I think by then you will know if this is the show for you or if it isn't. I
will actually say though, because Greed Island, I think it's like my second favorite arc. I really like that one.
Fair enough. Honestly, one thing that I don't think a lot of people know, but I found out recently, is the reason for the name of the show. It's called Hunter x Hunter because Gon is a hunter hunting his dad, who is a hunter. So he is a hunter. Big brain.
Oh yeah, right. One of my favorite moments in the Greed Island arc, and my favorite moment in this entire series in general, was when there was like a clue for going to see for who his dad would be. And the clue
Oh no!
spelled Nigg.
Carry on.
So I was watching the dub because I hadn't become like a full sub watcher yet, and I was fucking laughing my ass off when the dub voice actors just flat out pronounced it. It's like, holy shit! It sounds like the N-word. It just sounds like the N-word.
It does. It just like it couldn't have gone worse.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I get it because he's Japanese, but like, come on.
Like, it's my favorite scene of all of Hunter x Hunter. It is what I will remember Hunter x Hunter for.
Hunter x Hunter is great. I mean, one thing I will say is that one thing I love about the show is that there isn't one. So the goal of Hunter x Hunter from the start has been gone finding his dad who left him as a kid. Now, what happens in the show isn't all leading up to this moment, really. It takes a lot of detours, so they're not constantly working towards this objective of finding his dad. And also, you have many different villains that I think all have their merits. And yeah, I'm not gonna say too much more because I've been rambling for a long time, and I think I'd rather just watch it and see if you like it instead of just listening to me ramble, because if I keep rambling, I don't think it's gonna change many opinions.
Yeah. So my next one, my number 7 is Erased. Which this is like the oddball pick of my ranking because I don't think most people have Erased in their top 10s. Because, like, if you want, like, a really good time travel anime, then the one you're gonna have on your top 10 is usually gonna be Steins Gate. That's the usual one. If you want to go for an oddball pick, Link Click is another one that most people are gonna have in, even ReZero. But for me, my favorite time travel series is Erased. And there are a lot of smaller reasons for why I liked Erased so much. I think the main reason for it is because it's a very to-the-point series. Because the series itself knows exactly what it wants to do until we get to the ending. If you want a satisfying ending, you're gonna have to read the manga, unfortunately. But but everything, well, like the first like 9 or so episodes of the anime, absolutely fucking perfect. It has a clear direction, knows exactly what it wants to do, and is super well executed all throughout. So like the idea is that in the main character Satoru's childhood, there were a bunch of murders around his neighborhood, and then in his I believe his late 20s or early 30s, he's the murderer kills his mom, and then he's the one who gets accused of killing his mother. But the cool thing about Satoru is that he has a superpower.
Shit.
His power, he thought of as useless because it only rewinds like a minute or two into the past. But he gets rewinded all the way back to his childhood in order to stop the murders right from where they started.
Oh, cool. I should watch this.
Yeah, so then what the series ends up doing is that it ends up surrounding the character that is next to Satoru in the poster, Kaio. Kaio is a woman with a girl with a really tough life, and a lot of the hook ends up being, can he save Kaio? Because Kaio is a very likable, endearing character, and even without that motivation too, there is also another motivation, because the one that starts the whole hook in the beginning is Satoru has to save his mother, because that's why the plot started to begin with. So episode 1 is very intricately handled in order to set up Satoru and his mom's relationship dynamic. And then within future episodes too, you end up realizing that Satoru took his mother for granted in childhood, forgetting just how supportive and wonderfully kind of a person she is. That's a really underrated aspect of Erased, in my opinion. I remember watching a YouTube video where they were talking about how Erased doesn't have any themes, which I fully disagree with. because Erased's main theme is to not take things for granted, to appreciate every moment of your life to its fullest. And while those are pretty generic messages, it's something that this show does an amazing job at handling. So like throughout all the episodes, you grow to like Satoru more, like his mom more, to like Kaio more. And then I will say, even as someone who absolutely loves the series, I will say that the last few episodes, it definitely falls off a bit. Him saving the other girls isn't nearly as well handled as him saving Kaio is. And the twist reveal is fairly obvious, even though I didn't see it coming. And then the ending itself is one of the most batshit ridiculous, nonsensical plans ever, because they had like 2 episodes to adapt it. The manga's ending is completely different from the anime's too, because the anime had to rush the ending.
But do you think you should like watch the first 9 episodes then read the rest, or?
I'd say watch the anime in full, and then you can read the manga. Because the manga actually does have some decent differences. Like the start of the manga is a lot more drawn out than the anime is. The anime is a lot more efficient with its time. But the manga also adapts, an ending that doesn't suck. I say though, even with the ending though, this is an anime that's a lot more about the journey than the destination. Because catching the killer, by the end of the series, you're like, that doesn't really matter nearly as much. What matters more is seeing Kaio happy, seeing that his mom is okay, things like that. And that's really what I love Erased so much for. I hope I was able to articulate myself well, since Erased is not a very common thing to have on your top 10 list, but it is for me. I love the series so much. It's a very bingeable series too, by the way.
I need one.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to get it done in like a single day.
Shit.
So if there are any anime I'd recommend to you, this would probably be the easiest one for you to get into.
Alright.
Because it is only 12 episodes, it is really easy to binge, because there is a cliffhanger every fucking episode.
Dang, so you just want to watch the next one straight away, I guess.
Yeah. The cliffhangers are so difficult to ignore too, because like, it is a murder mystery thriller. Wow, well, that's all I have to say though.
Actually, I do want to say one thing just quickly about Hunter x Hunter, because you said something that I failed to think of the words before, but when you mentioned about the journey being more important than the destination, that is Hunter x Hunter to a T. I'm not gonna lie, the entire goal was to meet Gon's dad. By the end, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
You honestly, you realize he's a random brother. Like, it don't matter. Anyway, we can move on.
Alright.
Dr. Stone. So, from what I can tell, this is the most recent addition to my top 10. And I love this show because I like science, man. Science is great. And this anime makes science even more fun. Senku is one of my favorite characters in anime. He's fucking amazing. He's hilarious. And when people talk about like the smartest anime characters, I feel like Senku gets slept on because this guy is a fucking genius. Because everything that you can think of in terms of like making a phone, making anything you want to make, he just knows how to do it, and he knows how every single step to do it. So the premise, I should explain the premise. Everything is normal until it isn't. Everyone becomes stone. And it takes thousands of years, I think 3,000-ish years, before Senku becomes the first human to break free of the stone. And his goal is to recreate civilization. And obviously, because this is 3,000 years in the future, all the resources that humans really used to have, like all infrastructure and stuff, that's completely gone. So he's completely starting from scratch. But this man's a fucking genius. He made like a light bulb, he made a phone, all from scratch. In this, basically just with nature, and he's so fucking smart, and the dynamic with all the characters that you meet throughout the show are amazing. I will say the first villain, quote unquote villain, is honestly one of my favorite villains, because at the same time he's not a villain, but he's a villain type of thing. Like, he's opposing our protagonist. He's opposing Senku, but he's not pure evil like most anime villains are, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, one of the things that I love about this show as well is that all the recipes that they give are completely accurate, including how to make like bombs and stuff. Like, they give the real recipe on how to make bombs, which I think is amazing. And yeah, this show is, honestly, it's hard to explain. But I just ended up I binged this show so quickly. It's 3 seasons plus like a movie, I guess, like a special. And all the characters bring something to the show, which is a common theme throughout the top 10. All these characters are amazing. All of them have their own charm to them. The dynamics that they have with each other are all really fun to watch. So not only you get to have the nerdy shit, like all the science, but you also mix that in with just as much comedy, which I find to be... It makes the show so much more engaging than it would be otherwise. Because, let's be real, most people wouldn't be able to watch a show for 3 seasons if it's just about science and science only. But because they mix in some really good comedy with it, along with a good story, it ends up being an amazing show. Because, as well, at the start, they don't know how they became stoned. They have no clue. No one knows. They kind of just have to find out and hope it doesn't happen again. And the way that Senku, honestly, is a very big reason as to why I love this show so much, because his character is so good. I have him at 10, honestly. I think I've underrated him heavily. But yeah, this show, it's you just kind of have to watch it and then you'll know. Everything about it is amazing. You end up just you expect not to enjoy it as much because it's like science and learning stuff, but it's very easy to watch. And it feels like the show doesn't stop. You never get to a point where you're like, this is like, you keep wanting more. Like, there's always a next step kind of thing. You always want to see what Senku's going to come up with next, which new characters are going to come into the show. You're just instantly hooked. And it's, honestly, what I love about the show is that it's kind of a thing that I've been, like, you think, if there's a lot of people who ask, if you went back in time with all the knowledge that you had today, what would it be like? And this show kind of answers it, even though it's not in exactly the same way. If you take who's arguably the smartest person, he probably is the smartest person in the entire world, and put him back in time, what can you do? Especially considering at the beginning, he's kind of surrounded by morons. Like, his best friend's a fucking idiot. And it creates for some very funny moments in the show. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. It's not a particularly deep show, so I can't really say like 3.5 hours worth of stuff, because it's not a deep show.
Yeah, I mean, it
you have
fun,
you have the moments that I won't get into, but in all, it's not really like an emotional. It's not an emotional show at all.
Yeah.
You're kind of just there to see shit happen.
Like, I've been meaning to watch Dr. Stone for like 6 years at this point, and I just haven't gotten to it because it's fucking long.
It is. It's pretty long. It's three seasons.
Because like the
And the
premise
seasons are
sounds
long.
awesome. Like the premise is super interesting.
The premise is really good. It's one of the most interesting premises I've really ever seen.
Yeah, and then just like one random
when
ass
you
comment I
think
feel
about
like making. I'm looking at the poster. I love how all the male characters look like typical shonen, and then the female ones look like clan characters of how far apart their eyes are. Like
Well, you-
that contrast is hilarious to me.
But yeah, I think this show definitely. If anyone can get through a long show, watch it because it's really good.
Yeah, and then my number 6 is oh no, furry shit. What? Nah, though I fucking love Beastars. One of my friends is a furry, and he makes fun of me because I ain't no furry. I ain't trying to associate with that shit. But Beastars is fucking peak. Like, it's such a well written series.
You've just said that you don't want to associate with it, yet you've just admitted to associating with one. Alright, carry on.
Alright, guys, Beastars is one of the good ones, though. now I'm talking about furries the same way your Republican neighbor talks about black people. So the
That's crazy.
I know, right? So the reason why Beastars works so well, in my opinion, is the fact that it is so nuanced, and is able to tackle some really interesting ideas while simultaneously being very interesting. The main character, Legoshi, I relate to so much. He, cause he's all big and tall, has a large presence, but he's really socially anxious. He is ashamed of a lot of areas about himself. So the general premise of Beastars is the world of Beastars consists of herbivores and carnivores. Carnivores straight up fucking eat herbivores. Those moments are called devourings. The general idea of Beastars is how is fighting nature. When your nature is to kill other people. And it's an inherently interesting concept to base a show off of, because Legoshi is a kind person deep down. He doesn't want to hurt anyone, but he has the same exact desires that other carnivores have, which is why the first episode he attempts to eat Haru, who is a dwarf rabbit, and then that desire to eat ends up transforming into a sexual attraction that makes him confused. Beastars is perhaps my favorite depiction of sexuality and exploring just the general awkwardness of growing up and having those feelings, the feeling like you can't talk to anyone about certain things, and then of course, as a result of him being forced to repress his attraction to herbivores, he ends up getting going to the Black Alley, and then Gohin, a panda guy, is like, okay, dude, there's something seriously fucking wrong with you. He kind of acts as like his therapist. It's great. And then, like, that doesn't even touch the surface, though, because there's also Louis, who's also a great character. He's the Shika Noko 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 Kosh Tan Tan character, and, I can't take tears seriously anymore, goddammit! So his last name is secretly Nokatan. He doesn't have a canon last name, so his last name is, canonically Nokatan, because I said so.
No canon last names. Canon last name is fucking Karen.
So the reason why Louis works so well is because he wants to be super strong, but he's ashamed of his weak herbivore body. and he resents Legoshi because Legoshi is strong, but he's ashamed of a strong carnivore body, which is the reason why Louis and Legoshi consistently have such an interesting and fascinating dynamic throughout the entire series. And it's like, what I love so much about Beastars is the fact that despite these characters being animals, dealing with instincts that should be exclusive to animals, it's a show that feels so very human, because these feelings of desire, insecurity, wanting to be something that you can't be, those are all very human themes that the show tackles, and is able to do that so well through the fact that the characters are animals. It makes those themes in your face, and forces people to realize the fact that that us humans are just as animal as our main characters are. And that's what I'm gonna go into without getting with being spoiler free, because the plot, there are a lot of subtle plot moments I never brought up. A lot of season 1 ends on a really big triumphant note. Season 2 has a lot of crazy shit going on. I would suggest any anime fan to watch this. This is one of the most underrated anime series I've ever seen, in my opinion.
I guess I have to convert to furryism.
It's okay, this show's super well written, so no one's really gonna give a shit.
Yeah, true. I'll probably not regret it anyway.
Yeah, season 3 is gonna be airing in fall, so like, really no excuse not to see it.
True.
Alright, you're number 5.
What is my number 5? Wait, 1 second.
It's Clorox!
Oh,
I'm so funny, guys.
Okay, so I think if you haven't noticed by now, my top 10 is largely, I just really enjoyed watching it. It don't necessarily have to be deep. I just like watching it, and that's what Bleach is. Bleach is, as most people know, very long. Like, at this point, 390 episodes, including filler, but no one gives a shit about filler. I'm not talking about filler. I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
But Bleach is just, honestly, yeah, I'm gonna be real. There's nothing really that fully deep about this show. It doesn't convey too many messages for a large majority of the show. It does, towards the end of what I'm gonna call Bleach. I'm gonna separate that with 1000 Year Blood War because that's new. I'll get to that later. But towards the end, you do get some of that. And obviously everyone goes on about Big Three, and spoiler alert, there are no other Big Three shows on here. I haven't even completed either of the others. I'm about to finish Naruto, and that's not there. So, I'm not gonna say Bleach is the peak of all anime because the storytelling is incredible and it's just really fun to watch. Just people fighting, really. It's just sick fight scenes. It's not like the story's decent. Like, it's not like the best story I've ever seen in anime, because come on, shonen having the best story in all of anime, that's not a thing.
Yeah, at least it's not like Demon Slayer being actively
yeah,
asked.
it's not. I should clarify, it's not a bad story. It's a good story. It's just not like incredible. That's not why it's up at number 5. It's just because I really enjoyed watching it.
Ultimately, that's all you really need.
Yeah, it's hard to get through. I will say it was. I mean, before I watched this, I was watching like 6 episodes of anime in one sitting, and when I started watching this after 3, it was like, oof, I've watched a lot. It feels like I've watched a lot. It's a lot to take in, but it is a really good show. All the characters are really fun. But like most anime, there's some characters who I dislike. I'm not gonna get into it. Ishida, I don't like him. I said I'm not gonna get into it. I'm gonna shut up. I don't like him. That's it. But yeah, then we have Thousand Year Blood War, which honestly is the main reason that Bleach is in my top 5. I think Bleach would be below Attack on Titan without Blood War. Blood War is beautiful. It looks so amazing. Like, Bleach really did, in my opinion, it did deserve something new at least. I'm not saying a full-on reanimation because I think that's retarded. It looks amazing. One of my favorite art styles to come out of an anime, in my opinion. It looks really nice and it did Bleach justice. I'm so excited to see the rest of it. We've got the 3rd season, so the penultimate season of Bleach, coming out in fall. And I'm really excited to watch that. That's going to be really hype. The story changes a lot with Blood War. It doesn't really necessarily go in the direction you think it will. And yeah, honestly, thing looks beautiful. And I will say, out of all these anime, it has like the most fucking hype moments. Like, there are some moments where no matter how many times I will rewatch it, that specific scene, it will still keep being hype. I'm not gonna say which ones because you gotta watch it. Though, actually, to be fair, I feel like most people know whether they are or not gonna watch it. So I'm gonna give a spoiler warning here.
Yeah, because I'm never watching Bleach.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people, so I think it should be fine. If you're gonna watch it, then carry on, like skip forward. When Ichigo gets his new sword, his dual-wield sword, and he pulls that out the fucking fire, that shit was hype. I'm sorry, that shit was so hype. That shit evaporated an entire ocean, bro. That shit was hype. I love that scene. It was the last episode of Thousand Year Blood War Season 1, and it got me so hyped for Season 2. I couldn't wait.
I really want to make a joke about Kirito's dual wielding.
Oh, no. Don't remind me of that. That used to be my favorite. That used to be number 1 for me, but so no, that used to be at the top. Don't remind me of that.
Oh yeah, if you haven't seen Sword Art Online Abridged, by the way, I'd recommend that. It's fucking hilarious.
Honestly, I think everyone should watch Sword Art Online, even non-abridged. I think most people should watch at least one of them, either abridged or the regular version.
Yeah, I've seen abridged. I should watch the original.
One of those. I think everyone should watch the original because the original is one of those shows that, like, I don't know how to explain it. Anyway, we're talking about Bleach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
we're talking about the thing that I really love consuming on a daily basis.
Oh god! Every time I watch an episode, I drink a gallon.
Exactly. I'm glad that we're so like-minded.
Exactly.
Just the conversation's getting.
I was gonna make another joke. But let's just move on.
Yeah, my number 5 is K-On! K-On! Was like number 2 for me. It's
this is number 5?
Yeah, it's number 5 for me now. Yeah, it says. Granted, that's because there's a lot of other anime that I've grown to love even more than K-On! With time. It's not a thing against K-On! At all, because I still fucking love K-On! I can go on about K-On! For fucking ages. I love this show so much. Like it gets pretty much everything right about the slice of life genre, about the cute girls doing cute things genre. Basically nothing in the genre even comes remotely close to what K-On! Is able to do. Because what K-On! Is able to do is it's able to just have characters that all serve a purpose, who are very fun to watch. The plot doesn't really go anywhere, but when the plot ends, it fucking hits you like a fucking dump truck. That last scene is so emotional. And the reason why is because all it really focused on was showing you characters that are very fun to interact with. Just letting you interact with them. The main character, Yui, is the classic airhead archetype. Mio is like a combination of the like the elegant type, along with being the shy, socially awkward introvert. Ritsu is a total tomboy, insecure about the fact that she has a larger forehead. And then Mugi is the rich girl, very dignified, makes tea all the time. And then she's not on the poster, but she's actually my favorite character. So let me find. I'm actually gonna derail the image to find a poster of season 2, because the thing that puts K-On! In as high of a regard to me as it is Azusa, who is introduced halfway into season 1, as the new member of the club, and she really adds to the show because the whole premise of K-On! Is the fact that, oh, these characters are trying to be musicians, but they're not actually doing music for like every episode. They're just cracking jokes and drinking tea every episode. The fact that it is so laid back, the fact that the plot moves so little. Azusa is the character who challenges that, because Azusa actually wants to be a musician. She actually wants to take the Light Music Club seriously. And her character arc is about realizing that it's okay to settle down, just enjoy time with friends, because really what happiness is by the end of the day is being able to enjoy time with the people that you care about most. And I watched K-On! When I was like 14, I think. When I was 14, 15, around that age, I really needed to hear that message. And as a result of because I watched it when I was so young too, I can confidently say that K-On! Did genuinely teach me something very important about life. The idea that it is important to put your relationships above your aspirations. And yet the series also acknowledges the fact that that's not all you can do. Yui is the main character, I'd say. She's front and center in every poster, the character who's focused on most on the first episode. Yui is the protagonist of K-On!, and Yui's character arc is realizing that she has to take her life somewhere, because Yui is like the completely helpless archetype. Her sister is basically babying her the entire series. It's great. So Yui takes guitar as an opportunity to learn more about herself and discover herself more. The show does a great job at showing you that it's very important to have a hobby and a passion that you can put your time into, but it's also important to be able to take a step back and appreciate the time that you have with other people, and is able to do both of those messages so well throughout its 2-season run. I absolutely love K-On!, just peak series. And I didn't even get into it, because I was just talking about what it does well thematically. I failed to mention just how fucking hilarious the series is. This is one of the funniest comedies I've ever seen. Because the characters work so well off of each other. They really do just feel like friends having banter with each other. It's great. And then, of course, Kyoto Animation animated it too, so it looks fucking gorgeous. The direction is really well done too, because Naoko Yamada directed it. She'd also directed a silent voice, by the way, so that's how you know the series just looks fantastic. Yeah. The series also does a lot to separate itself from the manga too. Only about like 2 minutes of the manga is the first manga chapter is shown in the anime. The anime adds in so much to its first episode to flesh out its characters beyond just making them just one-note character archetypes, because these characters feel like people. Despite the fact that on the surface they seem, because like you can boil down every single character into one word: airhead, shy, rich, serious, tomboy. It's very easy to box them up into a category, but the more
what's your personality? Rich.
Yeah. Mugi probably has the least depth of the characters, but she's still really fun. She's really sweet. There's like she kind of performs a similar enough role to like what Nijika does in Bocchi, because Bocchi the Rock is very heavily inspired by K-On! Obviously, they're both music CGDCTs. Bocchi does a great job at modernizing the format to create something that has more focused plot surrounding it, while also having all the strength that a CGDCT would have, while K-On! Fully commits and is fully confident with the fact that it isn't going to be very focused on plot, but more focused on being as confident with showing you its characters as they possibly can, and that's why I appreciate K-On! So much. Because, like, this show's not going to be for everyone. It really isn't. I'd say give it as many episodes as you can, but if you do end up getting bored by it, then, like, I really can't blame you for that, but I still love it. Hilarious comedy, amazingly well done themes, great emotional writing. It does everything really well. In my opinion, it is by far the best CGDCT slice of life series to ever exist. Anyway, next up. Unless you have anything to add.
Nah, I need to watch this joint, man.
Yeah, because
I really hope I do like it
all the time. You gotta.
Yeah.
Alright, you're number 4. Oh, I fucking love Hyoka.
Oh, Hyoka. Hyoka is, once again, it's not necessarily fully deep and shit. It's not as deep as something like a Silent Voice. But it's got its moments. Obviously, one thing to note, Hotaro is my second favorite character of all time.
I love
You'll
Hotaro.
find out the first later. I love this man because he's so interesting. Because his motto is, if he doesn't have to do something, I'm not gonna do it. And if I do have to do something, I'll do it quickly. And that is, I don't know why, I love that. I love that catchphrase.
It's a very charming catchphrase.
Yeah, and I think one thing I do like about him is that he's right. He makes it quick, but he does his job well when he's given one. We see that throughout the series. When he's entrusted with the job, he's gonna do the job. He's not just gonna leave it half-assed, even though he does appear to be quite lazy throughout the show. He never leaves a job undone, and he goes all out on it. Whether that's for the other person or just for his own curiosity, we don't know. But one thing I will say is that the events that happen throughout the show are because literally his sister said, join the classics club, please. And he's like, alright, cool. Yeah, he just kind of does it. And that's how everything kind of happens. And all the characters are really fun in their own way. Chitanda is adorable as hell. She is so adorable.
Like, you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at her design either, but her personality is what makes her so adorable.
Her personality is amazing. And yeah, I think I'm not gonna act like the series was entirely perfect. There are some things that I didn't like as much.
Yeah, it can be slow at times, I feel.
Yeah, and like some things that chose to happen annoy me. And the thing that pisses me off the most is that I probably won't be able to ever see this series finish. It doesn't seem like anything's coming out in a long time. Yeah.
With the novel, even with the adaptation, it's obviously not getting a second season.
Adaptation, yeah. I mean, it was surprising that the novel even got an adaptation, considering the characters didn't even have designs before the adaptation. They didn't have faces.
Right, that's the thing, though. Kyoto Animation just goes out of its way to pick the weirdest source material imaginable and make it a masterpiece.
And these characters are amazing. I think the designs are incredible as well.
Super good character designs. Like, Hotaro's character design is one of the best character designs I've ever seen in any anime.
Honestly.
And Chitanda's character design is really well done, too. I like Satoshi's design, too. I don't remember the name of the other girl, holy shit.
Maya,
alright. I was like, is it Sayaka? But not Maya.
So, Mayaka, sorry.
Mayaka.
That's what it was. It was combination. Okay.
So I was close.
Yeah, we were both close, I guess. But to be fair, she's kind of like the most forgettable of the
She is the most forgettable one, but she's enjoyable too.
Yeah, she's not a bad character in any way.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the festival arc.
The festival arc is my favorite arc of the.
Yeah, for sure. It was so good. Hotaru being a fucking detective is really fun. Seeing how is he gonna get through this situation. And one thing that I do really like is that it doesn't always go right. We saw with the movie, he created a situation, a resolution in which everyone was happy with. They're like, yeah, it's definitely the right one. But then he realizes afterwards that he missed a key detail. And it weighs on him a lot. He didn't do his job properly. He was entrusted with the job and he did take everything into account. But I like how it's not just it's not as simple as he gets a job, he does it perfectly, he figures everything out. It has more depth to it. And I think even the first arc we see, I've really liked as well. Finding out the truth behind the entire thing. I won't get into, obviously. But yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, like
in general, this story is very, very strong. Mm-hmm. Now, the worst part about this story is the fact that Hotaru and Chitanda aren't together. There we go.
Yeah, they're the perfect couple, and they never commit to the ship. I was so angry.
Yeah. But like, and the thing is, yeah, they get apparent at the end in the last episode, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, like, oh come on, it's the last episode. You may as well make it a satisfying fucking conclusion.
Honestly,
like, make them kiss. I want to see them hold hands at least. Come on, because they're so perfect together. Yeah, because now yeah. I get to ramble about how much I love Hyoka. It's not in my top 10, but I still absolutely adore Hyoka. It's an amazing series. Because like the main character Hotaru is one of my favorite characters of all of anime. Hotaru is so good. I feel like this series has aged like fine wine because I feel like because Gen Z are either adults or in high school. I feel like basically everyone from Gen Z can relate to Hotaru.
Yeah.
Like, cause his I only want to put in effort when I have to mentality is something that I feel like a lot of our generation can relate to.
I did the exact same thing. Like
I did the same thing too. Ago. I still do the same thing.
Bare minimum. The bare minimum. I didn't do more than I had to.
And the what I love so much about the series is how Hotaru's mindset repeatedly gets challenged throughout the story, as Chitanda's undying curiosity compels him to solve all these mysteries that seem small. It's because, like, unlike most mysteries, which have like one underlying mystery throughout about something that's really high in scale, Hotaru has a lot of really small scale mysteries. I did mention
that. I can't believe I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about this show so much as well.
And like the fact that it's a small-scale mystery story works because the story isn't about, because the story is not a thriller like most mysteries are. The story is a slice of life story that focuses a lot on the characters and their development and interactions with each other. And these are amazing characters. They work really well with each other. We didn't talk about him too much, but Satoshi is another character that I really love. He adds so much to the story. Just phenomenal series. I really need to give this a rewatch sometime. And when I do give it a rewatch, I'm probably going to like it even more than I did the first time.
I will always have a certain level of respect for a show that can make something small into a big deal. And Hyuga does that very well. They take these small things that make it into such an interesting and fun thing to watch. You become engaged. Like, you have something, even, I'm not going to really go over the OVA, but they took a situation as small as something disappearing from someone's ear, and they made it into a big deal, and you want to know what happens type of thing. It's not boring, even though when you hear the concept, you're like, why the hell would this sounds so boring? But it's not. And I use the OVA as an example because I didn't want to spoil, obviously, anything that happens in the actual show.
Although I feel like the OVA contributes to the overall plot well enough to where I feel like it should have just been in the series.
And then they back the ship even more in the flipping OVA at the end.
I was like, fucking kiss guy.
And we're like, oh, there's only one other thing that's white in this entire park. And then, oh my god.
The reason why Hotaro x Chitanda shippers are so fucking passionate, why it's probably the most popular anime ship of all time, is because it was never made canon.
No. You underestimate My Hero fans, bro.
Okay, ignoring My Hero Academia fans, because they're all mentally ill in some way. This is coming from someone who really loves My Hero too, but the fan base is fucking crazy.
Anyway,
my number 3...
There's not even much to say. Also, one thing that I love is that, like, his sister is so, like, strange.
Yeah?
Like, we don't see her face the entire show. We see, like, the bottom half of her face. We never see her eyes. And she's just, like, kind of out. I'm pretty sure she was in India at the start of the show. She's kind of just out and about. We don't know anything about her. But she seems like a fucking genius. Anyway.
My number 4 is Toradora, which is my personal favorite romance anime. Because Toradora was actually the first romance anime I saw. I didn't fully appreciate it on my first watch. Then on my second watch, I didn't fully appreciate it again. And then on my third watch, I was like, holy shit, this is a fucking masterpiece. And every watch since then, I cry at least once toward the end. This series does so much right. Just so much throughout the entire thing. I nerd out so heavily over Toradora. It is everything right about a romance anime, in my opinion. The only thing I can nitpick it for is the fact that the first half is pretty slow. Because the second half is very drama focused, very serious, while the second half is more comedy focused. And I say the comedy of Toradora is decent. It's not amazing or anything, but it's good. I'll laugh out loud, like, at least once every episode. It's good comedy, but nothing too special. So, like, but I still think that the first half is really fun to follow because the characters in general are just really fun. Ryuji and Taiga are both super well written. Ryuji's kind of similar to Legoshi, actually. Really tall, big, scary, delinquent-looking guy who feels insecure about how scary he looks, and tries to hide himself as much as he can. He's like an absolute neat freak. So the fact that he's basically a housewife is one of the recurring jokes of the series. And then Taiga, who is very prone to anger, very good at at pushing people away, gets angry at everyone. Her only friend is the person that Ryuji has a crush on, and then Taiga has a crush on Ryuji's only friend. Ryuji has a few other friends. They're just like forgettable background characters, though. And so they basically act as each other's wingmen, with the obvious twist being that they end up falling for each other by the end.
Yeah, I think you can say that. That's not.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows that they'll be together by the end. Let's not fucking kid ourselves.
Yeah.
Except me when I first watched it, because I'm just built different. I have that special kind of retardation.
Yeah, you're extra dense.
Again, I don't see twists coming, no matter how fucking obvious they are. It's embarrassing. So, but yeah, but like even as early as the first episode, when Ryuji sees how messy Taiga's house is, you get to see pretty much instantly that Taiga is putting up a front, that she is actually someone deeply terrified of her circumstances and the world as a whole, and that she uses being the angry tsundere woman as a way to feel like she can have some power and control over the world when she feels powerless. And as a result, Taiga is a character who I ended up really liking. Despite the fact that in the start of the series, yeah, sure, she seems like an asshole, but she's written that way for a reason. Ryuji very quickly catches on to the fact that this is someone who he should be kind to. And Ryuji is a very naturally kind, naturally giving person, which is the exact kind of person that Taiga needs, because Taiga is someone who has never really been able to get along with people for her entire life, someone who struggles to make bonds with people. And Ryuji stays patient with her throughout the entire series, despite the fact that Taiga repeatedly tries to push him away through her various acts of violence.
Yeah.
And it's seen Ryuji's kindness be rewarded with Taiga falling for him, that makes for such a satisfying moment near the end, and then along with the fact that Taiga is finally able to feel like she has a place to belong with Ryuji. And of course there are a lot more dramatic things that happen in the second half too that I won't get into, that help make that conclusion hit all the harder. Because if it didn't have any of the extra spice added on top, then I wouldn't say that Toradora is nearly as good as it is, but because of all the things surrounding its conclusion, all that, how well handled that build-up is, because like the first half of the series needed to be laid back, more episodic, comedy focused, because if it wasn't that way, then that ending just would not have hit as hard. But as a result, that ending does hit super hard. I think it's funny too, because a lot of my friends also agree with me that Toradora is one of the best romance anime ever made. But you, Plasma, are one of the few normal people who are like, oh yeah, it's really good, but not top 10.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it in my top 10, but it is I really did enjoy this. I enjoyed Toradora a lot. I don't want to discredit it.
Yeah,
but it's not like top 10 for me. That's like.
Yeah, that's most people. I'm genuinely shocked that I have as many friends as I do that agree with me that Toradora is one of the best romance anime.
I think I definitely rated it a 9. If I don't have it as a 9, I'm shooting myself on camera. Yeah, I have it as a 9. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's like an 8 at least,
Yeah.
Granted, I'm biased as fuck. I love Toradora so much, and every time I rewatch Toradora, I remember just why it's my favorite romance anime. Because one of the major themes with Toradora that I love so much, one thing that I needed to hear when I was a teenager when I saw it, is the fact that having a crush on someone isn't love. loving someone is getting to actually know someone, which is the reason why Ryuji and Taiga fall for each other instead of their crushes, because they actually got to spend time with each other and be comfortable with each other's shortcomings and come to accept each other. It's so good.
It is.
Next up.
This is definitely, I'd say probably my hottest take.
It is your hottest take, because I saw the show too. It was good, but like number 3. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Okay. So I know this opinion is really, really weird, but like, this shit cured my depression. This shit got me addicted to romance. Like, I'd seen romance before, but when I watched this, I became addicted. And now romance is my favorite genre. This is like the ultimate, like, just feel good show. Like, if you're upset and you wanna feel happy, just watch this show. But at the same time, if you wanna feel alone, watch this show. Because this show does such a good job at making you feel like you're so alone. It's because the thing is, yeah, this story isn't good. It's a light novel. The story isn't good. It's a romance light novel. You're not really gonna get a great story out of it. And obviously you have Sheena, who's very much modeled to be best girl, and she is. Not even close. And I mean, come on, if you've watched this, then you know it's just pure wholesomeness. And that's kind of some of my favorite stuff to see in anime, is just pure wholesomeness. Just to be able to feel good afterwards. I don't always want to watch a show that's gonna make me rethink everything I've ever done in my life or cry my eyes out for 3 days. Sometimes I just want to feel good, and this is the show that does it better than the rest of them, in my opinion.
Which I think that's a fair enough take, even for something that is ranked that high.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, feeling a strong emotion, regardless of what it is what should propel something to such a high spot, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, the dynamic between Amane and Sheena, it's so adorable. My Hero and Amane, they're just too adorable together. One thing that I didn't like about the show, though, was they adapted 4 volumes of light novel into 12 episodes, which is kind of stupid.
Like, I'd say there are some things that you can dig some deeper meaning out of as well. Amane's arc is about realizing that he's a better person than he thinks he is, while Sheena's arc is about realizing that she doesn't need to live up to those perfect standards that she set herself up for.
Because obviously we have past traumas. Obviously, Sheena, I'm not gonna. Should I bring them up?
If you want
I'll
to.
be fine. I'll bring it up. Spoiler warning.
Hey, no one's watching the show for the plot, let's be fucking real.
Yeah, let's be real. No one's watching for the plot.
They're watching it because, oh my fucking god, cute anime girl, I want to be with her.
Same, bro. Amane is a very giving person, but he was very naive, and he ended up getting used by who we thought were his friends just for money. He'd pay for their food sometimes, stuff like that. And he ends up thinking that he doesn't really have any of the qualities to himself, and he ends up just kind of sticking to himself. He has one friend, and then you have Sheena, who was an accident, to put it bluntly. She was an accident. And her parents did not love her in the slightest. They didn't care for her. they weren't even in their house for most of the time, and so Sheena did everything she could to gain validation, and obviously they both help each other get through what they've been through in the past, and it's really adorable. I don't know what else to say apart from that, but that's just what this show screams. So I'm not gonna say any more because otherwise I'm just repeating myself.
But yeah, one thing that I do have to say. Do I have anything else to say about the series? Oh yeah,
There's
right.
not
I
much
have one
to say.
funny story. So I was watching this show when I was airing, and then my dad walked in on me watching it, and he was like, "What the fuck?" Because it was at the point where the two characters had started to get along, you know. Because the start of the series, there was like an actual distance between the two characters.
They were very cold towards each other.
Yeah, but my dad was watching it when the two characters had actually started opening up to each other. So he was like, why is this girl just doing everything for this guy? And it's like,
Read the title,
I'm not
bro.
going to bother explaining this.
Yeah.
And ultimately the show is, let's be fucking blunt, the show is a fantasy for its viewers.
It's escapism.
Yeah.
It's just copium. It's one big
Copium
dose
is
of
the best way
copium.
to put it. Well, like, it's well executed in what it's trying to do, I'd say for the most part. Well, one thing I do have to say, though, is the production values are really fucking bad. If a good studio has handled this, holy fucking shit, Mahiru would be even more cute than she already is.
Imagine if the Angel Next Door got the Alia-san treatment.
Yeah, because Alia-san has a fucking phenomenal adaptation.
Oh,
Well-
yeah. I want to shout one thing out as well. The ending themes that are sung by Mahiru are peak. All of them. They're all peak. They're amazing.
Yeah, Mahiru's voice actress did a really good job, too.
Especially the episode 7 one. It's glorious. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's minor.
I'm gonna move on to my number 3, Anohana, the flower we came on that day. I'm so funny, guys. The plot to Anohana is pretty simple. So so there's a group of friends, and then one of them, Menma, dies when they're in elementary school. And then when the characters are of high school age, Menma reappears as a ghost surrounding the main character, Jinta. And Jinta is the only one who can see Menma. Which means that all of his friends, because Menma wants all the friends to get back together, start doing things again. All of his friends think he's a fucking crazy person, first talking to a ghost. And everyone has moved on from that point. Jinta was the leader of the group back in elementary school. In high school, he's a hikikomori, who hasn't really done anything for himself. And then Popo, I can't really get into without getting into spoiler territory.
Good.
And then I believe her name is Anko. She was like the nerdy girl in elementary school, but tried to become more of like the trendy girl in high school. And then the other guy. Oh my god, how am I forgetting these characters' names? How can I call myself a true fan?
This is top 3 territory, and you're forgetting names now. What is this?
I mean, it's because like the characters themselves, you don't really attach to them like slice of life characters. But these are they're similar to like silent voice characters, where they're characters who exist solely for thematic purposes and fulfill their thematic purpose extremely well. So I'd say that like the characters are a lot more similar to how like a silent voice handles their characters as opposed to like how Keion or Toradora handles their characters. Which is why I'm gonna be forgetting names more. My other guy who was like top of his class, the absolute Giga Chad, he was mostly just playing second fiddle back in elementary school. And then the other girl who is there along with him. It's hard to get into the show without explaining anything spoiler-wise, but if I were to give like why I love the series so much, it's because it explores how all these characters became fucked up in their own ways due to Menma's death, and how all of them, even the ones that seem like they've moved on, haven't moved on as a result of just how traumatic the event of losing someone is. And the ending, man, is like the deepest fucking tears you'll ever see me have watching any anime come from Anohana's ending. If I need to cry, then I will legit just binge all of Anohana just to do so.
Dang.
You haven't seen it yet, so I'm not gonna go in further detail, but yeah, fucking peak series. Next up.
Well, I honestly don't have too much to say. I mean, honestly, a lot of things that I will be saying now are just me repeating what Aiden has said, but I don't remember exactly everything that he said, so I'm just gonna start waffling. I apologize if I start repeating a shit ton of stuff and I sound like a broken record. So, Bocchi the Rock is, first of all, on a surface level, the show is really funny. All the characters are really interesting. They all have their own charms. Obviously, you've got Hitori being Hitori and doing Hitori things, glitching out on the floor, screaming that she's gonna die because someone looked at her. But then, when I really think about this show has done a lot for me as a person. This is one of the few anime in my top 10 that I do like for a more deep reason. Around the time that I did watch this show, I had some pretty fucking bad social anxiety, and it's not gone, but I will say, purely from this show alone, really, it's improved. And it feels so cringe to say it. Like, I hate thinking about it.
I mean, I'm the same way, don't worry.
I go into situations and think, what would Bocchi do in this situation? I'm gonna try and do this, because if that girl who does what she does, who plays in a box, can do things, I can probably do it. And it works. I mean, I'm better than I was before. And it's this show has just made me a better person for it. I mean, it's helped me a lot in my journey to try and overcome my social anxiety. Because I can see that what I'm feeling isn't necessarily odd or bad. It's just how I am. But I can overcome it. And as Aiden said before, it's a big exaggeration of what social anxiety is. Of course, no one does what Hitori does, but it does do a great job at feeling relatable, not literally to where I can see myself doing exactly that, but you can even though you don't do what she does, you know, the watcher knows how she's feeling, and with that feeling, you end up relating to it quite hard. Well, I did anyway. I ended up relating to it quite hard. Like, all the things that she was feeling throughout the show, I was like, man, I'm the same. Yo, bro, same. Whoa.
Yeah,
same.
The entire time I was like, she's just like me for real.
Honestly, I didn't fully realize that I had social anxiety, but watching this show made me realize that it existed, and it helped, and that was the first step to overcoming it, really. It's noticing that you have that problem, quote unquote problem. And yeah, that's the main reason why I love this show, along with It's amazing songs from Kasoku Band. I don't need to get into that because obviously that's not really the anime itself. There's some hype moments. Episode 7 particularly. Episode 11 as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Episode 7, 8, 11, I think are like the most hyped ones.
yeah. There's some really good moments in the show. So it doesn't... The only appeal of this show isn't necessarily if you have crippling social anxiety. It can appeal to people who don't necessarily relate to the show fully. One thing I will say, I will never read the manga because no.
Because the adaptation is so good that like
Yeah,
it feels
they
wrong
did
to
an
read the
incredible
manga.
job.
Because like so
Yeah.
many of the jokes work because the animators went all out with them.
Hmm.
So yeah, phenomenal series.
Yeah.
Yeah, my number 2 is Clanad, which is another fairly generic choice. It's impossible to truly describe why Clanad is so good without getting into spoiler territory, and I want you to watch it. So I won't get into honestly anything After Story related, and After Story is like the reason why Clanad is this high on my list. So I'm not gonna sound nearly as enthusiastic as I would otherwise, but yeah, Clanad is a work of art. Because like the one thing I will say that After Story did do is that After Story made me realize something about myself that I never thought I would. It made me realize I want to be a father. A sentiment I never ever thought I'd have watching anything. Because like, oh, the economy's terrible. Oh, it's so hard to find a good partner. Oh, raising a kid to be a pain in the ass. Clanad was that made me realize that family is such an important virtue to have in life. And how Tomoyo, the protagonist, has Tomoya is the protagonist. There's another character named Tomoyo, while the main character is Tomoya. That never gets confusing. So, yeah, the main protagonist Tomoya goes through the story taking what he has for granted because he does have so little. He's a delinquent, goes to school late. His only friend is a fucking loser. He basically spends the entire show bullying. It's even more so in the visual novel, by the way. Visual novel, every fucking day in the visual novel, there's like a new scene where he's bullying Tsunohara in some way, and it's fucking hilarious. But like they stick by each other because like they are the only people like they can really have together as friends, you know. But what changes Tomoya is when he meets Nagisa. Nagisa is a woman who was very sick, has had to repeat a year of high school, and you get to see her story unfold as Tomoya gives her the confidence to do things that she wouldn't want to do otherwise, while Nagisa gives him the kindness needed for him to make changes in his life. And Season 1 focuses on Nagisa and Tomoya helping other characters, usually other cute anime girls, as they go through certain problems. And as those happen, Tomoya collects light orbs. It's made more explicit in the visual novel than it is in the anime. And then After Story gets to see their experiences as adults when they're together with each other, which, I mean, the fact that they end up together is obvious from like the first scene. I don't really need. I'm fine spoiling that.
Fun fact: I own the visual novel.
Yeah, you haven't played it yet.
I want to watch the anime first.
Yeah, the visual novel is 90 hours long. I would never recommend anyone start with a visual novel. Especially since you low-key need a guide in order to get the visual novel completed. The anime compresses everything into a nice package while still being very good. As a result of the anime format, the occasional arc does feel kind of fillery, but the individual stories are still really well done. They still strike a good chord. I will say though, After Story is so much better than base Clanad that like you have to watch the first season first before you can get an opinion on Clanad. You have to watch it in full. Because I can guarantee you, when you finish After Story, even if you don't like the stuff beforehand, which I'm sure you will, you are going to like After Story. Because After Story is one of the most brilliantly written pieces of art I've ever seen. Like, the most tears I've ever had watching anime were in After Story. Some of the hardest cries I've ever had were watching After Story and seeing Tomoyo's arc come to its conclusion. Because he is one of the best written protagonists I've seen in any anime.
This is the show that I want to watch the most out of any show, I think, full stop.
Yeah, I would heavily recommend Clanad. It's so good. Like, this... I know it's become a fucking trope for people to say that Clanad changed their lives, but Clanad genuinely, legitimately changed my life.
I mean, people say it for a reason.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, on God, cheat skill may be a little bit better, but Clanad, holy shit, peak. Anyway, you're number one. I know what it is, but the audience doesn't know. Yeah. So we're gonna drum roll this shit. All right, it's Oregairu.
It's Oregairu. Now, honestly, I won't say too much. I've honestly considered making my own video on Oregairu because I have so much to say. So when I said Booksy the Rock changed my life, yeah, Oregairu did it even better. And it's funny because I didn't go into it expecting for it to change my life at all. I had just watched The Angel Next Door, and I was like, what's some good romance anime I can watch? And well, you know the title, My Teen Romantic Comedy. I was like, okay, I'll watch this. And well, I watched it and it was okay. And I don't know why, but I thought maybe I didn't get the full experience. So I decided to rewatch it, and honestly, rewatching Oregairu was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Because honestly, I walked away with the wrong idea after the first time. Because honestly, I was a little bit like Hachiman at the beginning, and if it isn't obvious, he's my favorite character in all of anime. He is a loner, and he's an absolute asshole to people around him. Kind of. You see, Hachiman has no respect for himself, and he makes that apparent because he will do anything for other people's happiness, and most of the time that includes sacrificing his own. I'm not gonna go too much into it, because I think obviously the show can speak for itself, but honestly, the first time I walked away thinking, damn, this guy's cool. I want to be like him. And then I realized that, no, that's not the approach that I should really have. And I realized that on my second watch through, that I shouldn't strive to be like how Hachiman was in the beginning. Rather, I should see how he's changed throughout the series and think, how different. I mean, you don't have to rewatch it to get the same message, really.
Mm-hmm.
If you pay enough attention to the show. If you pay attention to the show enough. But for me, when I saw the end, and then when I looked back on the beginning and how different Hachiman is from the beginning and the end, it made me think,
man, he really did change so much, and I still strive to change like Hachiman did. Um, he's honestly, to me, he's such an inspiration, and I know if it probably feels weird to say that about a 2D fictional character, but really, he is such a massive inspiration for me. Um,
Hmm.
I strive to be just as giving, as kind as him, while taking the lessons he learned throughout the story into account, because he learns a lot throughout his journey throughout the series. He learns a lot because he's just a 17-year-old boy. Um, and all the character I haven't even mentioned all the other characters in the series. Uh, Hiratsuka Sensei, she's she's also a favorite of mine. Um, she's someone who never gave up on Hachiman no matter what. She saw what he really was like, and no matter how, even if it took forcing him to do certain things, joining a club or this and that, she does it for his own good, and well, we can see that by the end. Um, and yeah, um, this show, honestly, there are moments where I've cried to this show. Certain scenes that obviously I won't spoil. Um, but this show is amazing. Yukino, amazing character to kind of stimulate Hachiman's change. Um, because they hate each other at the start, really. They really do hate each other. They're not friends. They hang around a lot because neither of them have any friends. For different reasons. In a way, they both don't want to have friends, but the specific reasons that they don't want to have friends are kind of different. And Yukino is she pisses Hachiman off, and well, it works because well, by the end, never mind. Not gonna say anything. Watch. I need to hold myself back. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna say too much more. I don't want to keep rambling. But this show to me is the greatest show of all time. Full stop.
Yeah, I really liked Oregairu. I feel like I gotta rewatch it sometime soon. Because like I watched season one and went, these characters are assholes. I hate them all. That was my take on season one. I did not like the first few episodes of season one at all. And then the end, near the end of season one, we started to see a glimpse of what the show was actually about, and I was like, wow, I'm actually starting to get invested in this. What? And season two happened. Holy shit, this is amazing! And I felt the same way with season three too. I was like, what? This show is really good now. Like what? And the reason why is because, the characters starting out unlikable is kind of the purpose. It's about their journey of growing up and maturing. I find it hilarious how like love comedy is in the name when it barely,
Yeah,
it's not, hardly feels like a comedy, barely feels like a romance, because in order for any romance to actually happen, the characters have to get through their shit first, and that's
yeah.
what the series is focused on.
What I will say is, I came for romance. Pause. I, I, I got intrigued for romance, and I left being intrigued for a completely different reason. And I'm glad I watched it. Um, because while it doesn't necessarily have a proper romance like you're used to, it has a lot of other things that it brings without necessarily needing to be your typical romance anime. Um,
I remember.
and
Oh, go on.
like it's weird because I mean I think a lot of people probably came for the romance, unless they got it recommended from someone else. For me, I think no one recommended the show to me, so I just came strictly for the romance. And well, I ended up loving it for a completely different reason because by the end, you don't really care about the romance. The romance is a side factor. you mainly just want to see the characters grow, and it doesn't matter. It didn't really matter which way they grew in particular, but you just wanted to see them grow and become proper people, I guess.
I remember one of our old friends was talking about how, oh, the first few episodes were really funny. I really liked them, and then it started getting to like, started changing, and it was like, I don't know, I don't really like this anymore. And then he frequently make jokes and jabs about Origairu being bad. And one of my favorite sayings that every YouTube reviewer who talks about Origairu says is the fact that the people who need to know Origairu's messages the most are not going to understand them. I think we saw that with that friend.
Honestly, I did not like it. I mean, I did not take the message into account, and a lot of people do need to hear the message that Origairu brings, but one thing I love is that the way they bring the message isn't so completely harsh. It's done over 3 seasons to where it's not dragged out. To me, there wasn't many areas where it felt too long. It felt like it was a proper length. It got everything it needed to say, but it wasn't too forceful with that message. It wasn't constantly shoving it in your face kind of thing. Obviously, later in the story, it becomes a lot more prominent. But in the beginning, you get a slight bit of it, but it doesn't feel overbearing. So, someone who does need to listen to that message can feel more at ease when listening to that message, because it's not just a bunch of stuff coming to you at once. It's served to you slowly.
Yeah, because like I feel like it is really easy for someone to look at Hachiman and go, "Oh, look at how cool he is solving all these problems and stuff." Kind of like what Hotaro does. But what separates like Hotaro and Hachiman is the fact that is the reasons why Hachiman does the things that he does.
Yeah.
I see why that connects with people so much. Even if Hachiman isn't necessarily a character I relate to a ton compared to other characters similar to him, he is still very well written, and I was really able to appreciate his story throughout the series.
Yeah, because I definitely was someone like Hachiman. I provide for other people, even if it came at the cost of myself. And if you're like that, watch this series. And one thing I will say is, if you walk away from that series, you liked it, and you thought, man, I want to be like Hachiman, watch it again.
Yeah,
even if first you watch it again, because then you get the true message that the story wants to bring. And spoiler, it's not that Hachiman is cool. That's not the message that the show wants to give you. So I'd say watch it again.
I really feel like I'd get a lot out of rewatching this, honestly, because I feel like I'd be able to relate to its messages more as an adult than I was as a teenager, surprisingly.
Fair enough.
So yeah, perfectly fair pick for number 1, honestly.
Yeah. Honestly, it's weird because this thing was not always at number 1. Even when I rewatched it, I really liked it. It went from like a 7 to a 9. But I don't know what happened, but it just kind of, I realized slowly but surely it kept creeping up on my ranking, and for a while I was like, nothing's going to surpass Bocchi the Rock, because Bocchi the Rock was number 1 for me. But I still remember making that decision. Nah, I have to say, I think Origairu is the best anime of all time, and I still agree with my decision.
Yeah. And then my favorite, I mean, there is no drum roll. You know it's a silent voice, given how we foreshadowed it earlier. I love A Silent Voice so much. It's a film that means so much to me. Because like the underlying message of A Silent Voice is that no matter how terrible of a person you think you are, that you do matter, and can make amends for the things that you've done. And that's a message that I constantly need a lot. Every single time I want to kill myself, I rewatch A Silent Voice, which means I've seen it like 7 fucking times at this point.
That was very, very deep.
Yeah, yeah, it's because like the things that that make me feel like such a terrible person are the things that I've done to fuck over other people in the past, and I've been like that throughout my entire life. I've never really viewed myself as a good person, and yet despite the fact that Shoya feels the exact same way that I do, he still managed to get up and make the changes he needed to make in his life in order to tell Shoko that he's sorry, and in order to convince the other people in his class that he isn't the person that he used to be. It's fucking beautiful. This is my definitive cry watch, because I mean it's a movie. It's the most accessible cry watch out of my current cry watches. If you couldn't tell, my top 3 are all cry watches. Because I like because the ultimate sign when you know that something has emotionally affected you in some way is when it's able to make you cry.
Agree.
And of course, there are some tearjerker anime that I think are just kind of underwhelming. The mangaka for A Silent Voice created To Your Eternity after this. It also has emotional moments, but I feel like they are a lot more flat in their execution than A Silent Voices. It's kind of a...
Wait, they're made by the same person?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
That's why I'm as adamant. That's why I'm as passionate about calling To Your Eternity mid as I am.
Fair enough. I haven't watched it, so I wouldn't know. But I've heard the name thrown about a lot, so...
Like, the, A Silent Voice is very similar to Anohana, where every character contributes to the themes of the story in some way. Tomohiro, the guy that looks like if Deku and Mineta had gay sex for 15 hours.
What the fuck? Also random.
It's fucking true though. Let's fucking look at him.
Yeah, but like you're talking about how this thing makes you sob and you watch it when you want to kill yourself, and then you talk about Mineta and Deku having gay sex.
Okay, so Mineta and Deku having gay sex while chucking down 15,000 Big Macs. That's how you can. That's Tomohiro in a nutshell.
You do you, man.
He's someone who blindly forgives Shoya because he doesn't have any friends. Someone who is able to connect with Shoya, but as a result, Tomohiro is a pretty clingy person. Which results in some conflicts. Most of the side characters are developed more in the manga. The movie is an amazing adaptation, fucking phenomenal adaptation, and I actually prefer it over the manga. One thing that the manga does better is the side characters, because the movie only has so much time to develop everything. Like Satoshi, the red-haired one. Me and my friends, when we were watching it, my friends called him the Skyrim NPC.
Skyrim NPC, yeah.
Because like he doesn't do jack shit in the movie. But in the manga, he's one of the best side characters. Has one of the best moments in the manga. But the movie wasn't able to adapt to that because everything related to the movie Tomohiro is making is brushed out over in the manga, in the anime. Of course, in the ending, you do get to see the movie that Tomohiro made, or at least glimpses of that concept. But the movie is a pretty big part of the manga that it ironically doesn't exist at all in the movie. And then Kawaii is a bitch fucker.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, and then Naoka is a really interesting character too, because like you can kind of understand where she's coming from in some areas, but man, she fucking just sucks. What a horrible person. And then of course Shoko is a good character too. She's cute, has her moments, but the fact that she isn't able to speak or anything means that she doesn't have nearly as much time to shine as other characters. And yet, regardless, she's still really well written. That she has moments where she's able to shine. Although it feels like most of that is related to enhancing Shoya's arc, which I think is fine. A lot of people write off the silent voice because they think that Shoko needed to be developed more, when no, I think the story needed to be focused on Shoya, because the story isn't about isn't necessarily about the victims of bullying as much as it is about how bullies need to amend themselves, which is why so much of the story is placed on Shoya over Shoko.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel like that's all I had to say without getting into spoiler territory, because there are other things that I could talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is
Well,
definitely one that I would never want to spoil to anyone, because it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we're gonna end the video as we always do. I have a Patreon, so if you feel like giving money to me, then it would be greatly appreciated. It really would be. You can suggest videos for this channel with if you pay $5. So yeah, that's something that you can consider. And as always, I want to thank my Phantom tier patrons, Mystic Owl, Jesse, and Squizzy, and my Confidant tier patrons, Regimania, Plasma, Eternum, and Ghoul. Thank you all very much for your continued support, and we'll see you all later within the next video. Anything else to say?
No, check out my anime list, Plasma Energized, to roast my anime takes. Why not? That's all I gotta
Indeed.
say.
Alright, we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.